there you go. There's a little clue to one of the games. And don't worry, I won't be playing my keyboard anymore. You don't have to put your ears through that, but I just thought a bit of fun to hear that. But yes, we're looking at arcade machines today, mainly the sort of nostalgic ones for me. We're going to look at 9. Sort of from the golden age of arcade machines. They sort of say that's really late 70s to early 80s, and there are a few in there from that sort of time period, but some a little bit after, maybe the sort of mid 80s and just after. But as I say, we're going to look at 9. Really nostalgic time to me, going down to the seaside, you know, playing sort of the arcade machines. We had a local arcade near me where I lived in London, and really great memories and really great nostalgia. Anyway, let's crack on with the first one. The clue was in my poor keyboard, playing Ghosts and Goblins and also Ghouls and Ghosts. Now, I don't have an arcade machine, obviously. I would like one. You can get these arcade machines, cabinets, can't you? With thousands of games. I might eventually get one, who knows? But yeah, most of these are just on consoles, and I'll mention which consoles the footage is from. But let's crack on. Let's look at Ghosts and Goblins. So Ghosts and Goblins, what can you say? This is the iconic opening where Princess Pri is taken and you, Arthur, have to rescue her. Now, hard as nails doesn't come close to describing how difficult this game was. I'm playing it on the NES Mini here. I never had a NES back in the day, so I bought the Mini as a great way of catching up with all the sort of best games, or not so much the best, but the most known games on the NES. But yeah, this is quite a good version. It's not my favourite. My favourite version is coming up on the Commodore 64. But yes, this game, I never pumped too much money in it back in the day in the arcades. Here it is. Here's the Commodore 64 version. There's something about the texture of the music and the way the graphics looked. I really loved this conversion of this game. But yeah, as I said, I didn't pump too much money in the arcades into this one because it was so hard. You know, I didn't have a bottomless pit of pocket money. I just play it a few times, but there's just something about it. Capcom obviously knew and know what they were doing. This one burnt deep into my memory cells. Really nostalgic for me, and I just love playing. Now, when I was playing this, my wife would come in and go, "God, you're in your underpants again." Not me sitting on the sofa in my underpants, but just my character where I'd lost my armour. Shows how often I got hit, but yeah, funny stuff really. But what a game. Now we're on to, this is Ghouls and Ghosts. This is the Master System version. I didn't have a Master System. I bought a converter cartridge that plugged into my Mega Drive. You can obviously play Master System games, and this is the way, so I picked up Ghouls and Ghosts. This is quite a nice conversion. And different, a little bit Ghouls and Ghosts, a little bit different. You can pick up these chests. Sometimes the chest would be a Dracula and he'd do something bad to you. Other times it offered you something good. Now this is the first boss, obviously into my underpants and then into my skeleton quite quickly there. This first boss wasn't too bad. Once his head sort of came away from his body, as you'll see, you were able to get him. But I didn't get much further than this. I'd need a week off really to get anywhere in either of these games. But the games themselves, super iconic for me. As I say, whenever I play them, I do get a lot of nostalgic feelings. They're just wonderful games. Brilliant stuff. So that was Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts. I think Ghosts and Goblins came out mid-80s, 1985. Ghouls and Ghosts would have come soon after, a couple of years after, I think. But we're going to crack on. Next one we're going to look at is Galaxian and Galaga. Galaxian 1979 release and Galaga 1981. These were both fantastic games for me. A jump up from Space Invaders. Absolutely brilliant. Let's take a look. Well, there was no way I was going to talk over that little iconic piece of music. That's another one I spoke about, my memory cells being burnt into. Well, that little tune really got in there. Oh, this game, Galaga and Galaxian, oh, they were fantastic. They were such an upgrade from Space Invaders. Now, I, like a lot of kids then, was a big fan of Space Invaders. But when I saw this game, Galaga, wow, the rich colours, the sort of sounds, God, there was always that one little one. I remember doing this and getting this footage. I always found the one little alien on his own. Sometimes he'd even kill me a couple of times. I'd struggle to get him. But yes, Galaga and Galaxian, really iconic, sticks in my memory. I'm sure I played this one in the old chip shop I mentioned in one of my other videos. Now, this is the version of Galaga on the Commodore 64. As you can see, it's really a basic version, but surprisingly, really really playable. It really plays well, really plays smoothly. Obviously basic graphics, but you know, I've sunk a lot of time into this. This is a really, really good version, even though maybe if you looked at it, some people might think, nah, not for me. But honestly, it really is really playable. Right, and here we have the version of Galaxian on the beloved ZX Spectrum, the old Specky, my favourite home computer. Absolutely love the Spectrum, as people know. But yeah, not a bad version at all. Obviously, you know, they're going to struggle a little bit with the sound. You know, didn't have a sound chip as such on the ZX Spectrum. But yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job with this, you know, and nice little sounds when the aliens came flying down. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, I played this a good bit on the old Specky. Now this is a version of the Commodore 64. Now I didn't think this was a great version actually. I think they could have done a better version really, but still pretty good. You know, I played this a good few times. The one thing I always forget about this game is if you didn't shoot your rocket up from your ship and it stayed on your ship, it would kill an alien that landed on it. So it would sort of help you out there big time. But yeah, Gallagher and Galaxian, brilliant. Yeah, so that was Galaxian and Gallagher, two fantastic games. Now we're going to push on with a very similar game. Phoenix, 1980 Taito release. This was a really, really good game. I love the fact that you could have a little force field. And it was one of the first sort of arcade games that had a boss battle when you had that huge sort of ship and you had to blast your way through to the pilot. Brilliant stuff. Let's crack on and have a look at it. Yes, I like Gallagher. I didn't want to talk over that lovely piece of music at the start. That's very nostalgic to me when I hear that. But yes, another game by Taito, 1980, as I said. Great game. I'm playing this on a Taito compilation on the PS2. There's some other nice games on this compilation. But yeah, different ideas. Look, the idea that you had to shoot these birds, and if you didn't get the bird right in the centre, it would sort of blast its wing off, and then the wing would disappear, and then it would basically repair itself in the end. But this is the bit that I really remember. I used to love this bit. Apparently one of the first games that had a sort of boss screen, and there I am using my shield for what good it did me there. You had a little force field, you press a button and it would work for about a second or so, and it would protect you just for that moment. But yeah, the idea that you blast your way through the bottom of this craft all the time, the spaceship is coming down, you're trying to kill the pilot alien in the middle there, shoot your way through the yellow sort of part of the ship, and also you had the purple band running through the centre, you had to blast your way through that as well, all while the little fighters are coming down. As you can see, I died again. But yeah, I absolutely love this idea, and it really, really sticks in my mind. I'm going to let a little piece of music play at the end as well. There you go. Phoenix, I absolutely loved that game. As I said there in the clip, I'm from the Chippy. I'm sure I used to play that in the chip shop I used to go to. But we push on now. We're going to go to a little bit of an older game again. Williams, Robotron. I love this game. One of the first games, not the first apparently, but one of the first games you use both joysticks. I loved Robotron. Let's take a look. Right, onto Robotron 2084. Well, I think most people just called it Robotron, but this game as well. Those sounds by Williams, really pretty quite iconic. And I think when I played this as a teenager or a kid, I don't even think I was a teenager. I think I was pretty young when this one came out, but I don't really think I knew what I was doing. I was just sort of trying to survive. And playing it again, I'm playing it on the Xbox sort of Midway compilation, and I started to think, I sort of know what I'm doing here, going around rescuing the humans. But yeah, it's super playable, and it is, again, as people know with me, it's the sounds. Those sounds really got a nostalgic thing for me going on, and they burnt deep again into my memory cells. And I used to play Robotron quite a bit like Ghosts and Goblins. I didn't play it too much because, it would get through my 10p in a matter of seconds. I think sometimes I didn't even make a minute before I died. But it got pretty intense, this game. Really sort of quite, volatile, happening game. But yeah, I loved Robotron. Really sticks in my mind. A top game. So that was Robotron. Oh yeah, I used to love Robotron. I used to love the sounds. And talking of sounds, next one, Paperboy 1985. Loved the sounds and the speech in Paperboy. Let's have a look. Now another one. This was really, really nostalgic for me. Paperboy. Another one that sticks in my memory, it's the sounds again. It's the sounds, and obviously this one had speech. It was, it was quite amazing to have speech in video games, really. And, these little sayings the kid gave out when he's riding his bike sort of stuck in my head. And I had a paper round, as most kids maybe did back in the day. So I sort of felt akin to this character. Not that I went around smashing windows by throwing newspapers through them. Would have been sacked pretty quick. But yeah, Paperboy, and obviously it had the handlebars. That was really quite unusual, really. Sort of arcade cabinet makers used to sort of quite try and do quirky things like that. But yeah, it was really good. And I remember the sort of, handlebars being really quite responsive. You know what, that lady, when I was getting the footage, her in that open top car, she must have killed me about 4 times. And I would have died, really. I wouldn't be just getting back up on my bike trying to deliver papers. But yeah, I loved this game. I used to play this quite a bit in the arcades, and I enjoyed playing this version. This is, again, on the Xbox original Midway compilation. Nice little compilation that, if you haven't got it, it's got some of the top sort of arcade games on it. But yeah, I used to plumb a lot of time into this one. Delivering the Daily Sun. And it was quite a tough game. You'd go through the sort of days of the week. You'd lose subscribers if you didn't deliver their paper. This was quite funny. You used to try and hit the guys fighting with a newspaper. I obviously missed that time. Kids riding little bikes at you. And then you had the sort of training course, which was quite good. And here, I'm so concentrating on finish the training course, I forgot to try and hit the targets with my newspaper. I just sort of wanted to get to the end of the course. But yeah, I loved Paperboy. I loved all the sounds and I loved the speech. It was a really top arcade game for me, and the games on the consoles, really good. So that was Paperboy. Out of playing the games today, I think that's the one I got the most fun out of. I actually love the sounds and the little quirks with Paperboy. A really, really brilliant game. Now we push on to another really iconic game, Gauntlet. Oh, Gauntlet, what a great game. I didn't really know what I was doing back in the day, as I'll mention in the video, but let's take a look at Gauntlet. Yes, Gauntlet, this is another one, really sticks with me. Now, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was playing this back in the day, but I just loved the look of it. And again, it's the sounds with me, the music, the speech. You know what, when you were a young lad back in the day, God, it felt amazing to hear speech in an arcade game. It was absolutely fantastic. But you could choose to be any one of 4 characters in this game, and you basically just had to get to the end of each level. Different things you could pick up. You could pick up potions and use magic, and a death character would turn up every now and then, which is not great news for you, but it was the sounds again with this game. Now, the arcade machine itself was enormous. It had 4 people could play it at the same time. I remember you'd walk into the arcade, there'd be this huge machine, and it was Gauntlet. But yeah, many sequels have come from this game, but it was almost like a sort of arcade little mini version of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm pretty certain I've read somewhere that the creator was influenced by his kid playing Dungeons and Dragons, which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, good game. I never got too far in it, and the thing is, when you died in the arcade, you could put more money in to sort of get your life back and continue the game. Now again, I didn't have a bottomless pit of money. If you had a lot of money, you were prepared to, you could just keep putting the money in and you'd keep going. It was, very clever, really, draws you in, probably made the makers of the game a lot of money. But yeah, Gauntlet, really, really good game. So that was Gauntlet. What a fantastic game. I wish I knew a lot more about it back in the day when I was a young lad, because I think playing Gauntlet with a load of friends together on the machine would have been absolutely brilliant. Anyway, on to the next one. The next one is Super Sprint. Oh, I used to love Super Sprint back in the day. Let's take a look. Super Sprint. I'm often saying in my videos that I wasn't very good at driving games, and I'm not very good at driving games, but this was an exception. I'm not looking very good here because, again, I'm playing on the Xbox Midway compilation. I'm having to use the Xbox controller, and I'm finding it very difficult, as you can see, and it was frustrating. But in the arcade, it used to have the steering wheel, and I was really, really quite good at this game. I had a friend who was really, really good at the game too, and we'd have battles, and we were really close in the skill factor, and it would be a real battle between the two of us who would win each race. But yeah, again, I love the sort of detailed small cars. I love the sort of graphics to this game. Again, the sounds, the little pieces of music. I have a real fondness and a real nostalgic thing going on with Super Sprint. It was brilliant. Atari, really, really fantastic game. Making my way through it, you obviously had little sort of tornadoes and stuff, which would make your car slip. And oh, do you know what? It's frustrating when you bump into the sides and I'd hear that poof, poof. It would annoy me. This always sticks in my mind, this little screen here with the cars. And you know, when you pick the car at the start, now here, this is where if you picked up a couple of those sort of little spanners along the way, you'd be able to build up the ability of your car. I always used to go for super traction, which would, you know, when you're in the arcade, when you're spinning that steering wheel around, because you'd really spin the steering wheel to get your cars around the bends, but the super traction would keep your car sort of glued to the track. That's what I liked. And look at me here, absolutely dreadful with the Xbox controller. I was really struggling, but yeah, in the arcade, I really did play Super Sprint quite a lot. If I went to an arcade or a fun fair, whatever, or to the seaside, obviously, where there's a lot of arcades, I would play Super Sprint quite a lot, especially if my mate was there. And there we are, there was that classic explosion where your car would blow up. But yeah, I would pump a lot of money and time into Super Sprint. I suppose it's just the nature of things. If you feel you're quite good at a game, you're going to look at me there going back on myself. If you feel you're quite good at a game, you're just by very nature going to keep on playing it. But yeah, Super Sprint, you know, real classic for me. That was Super Sprint. I absolutely loved Super Sprint back in the day, a top game. Well, we come to the last one. I'm not going to say too much about it because I've spoken about it an awful lot about it in the past. Let's take a look at Defender. Well, I couldn't do an arcade machine video without mentioning Defender. Yes, I know I mentioned Defender a lot, and I've done a video solely on Defender, but for me, it's the super iconic, the #1 arcade machine for me. You can see when I was playing it here, I lost all my astronauts. Those who know the game, once you lose your astronauts, everything becomes bedlam. If it wasn't bedlam enough at the beginning, without the planet blowing up, but the minute the sort of planet surface went, everything became crazy. But this game by Williams, it was the sounds, everything about it. Unlike the other games that are really tough, I did pump my money into Defender back in the day, because even though I'd die after about 30 seconds or a minute, with all my lives I'd be dead, I found it so playable and so addictive that I would put my hard-earned pocket money or my paper round money into this machine, because it was brilliant. You know, I'd really love to have an arcade machine version of Defender at home in the old retro garage. It would be fantastic. But maybe one day I'll get one of those sort of arcade cabinets that has thousands of games in, and it would obviously have a version of Defender on. But yeah, Defender, as I say, I couldn't make the video without mentioning Defender again. Absolutely brilliant game. So that was Defender. How could I not have Defender, and how could I not end on Defender? I'm not going to speak about it anymore. I've spoken enough, I think, about Defender. But anyway, that was today's video. I hope you liked the content. If you did, like and subscribe. It all helps, really. And what I'm going to do is, this is a prelude to a follow-up video I'm going to do. Now, those of you in the UK, you'll know about Skegness. For those who aren't, Skegness is a town in the northeast, right on the sea. It's classic UK sort of seaside resort. It's got many arcades. It's got funfair rides, chips, ice cream, all the things that come with the seaside resort in the UK. And I'm going to go there tomorrow, and I'm going there with a view to hunting down any old arcade machines. Now, I'm not sure if I'll find any, but I know there used to be some there up to quite recently. I've had a friend help me. He's given me a few arcades that I need to look in, so thanks for that. And I'm going to have a look there, and hopefully we'll find a couple. Even if I find one or two, I'll be quite happy. And on the way, I'll be having some chips and ice cream, all the usual stuff when you go to Skegness. So yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to get that and get a notification for that video. That should be up maybe next weekend if I'm lucky. But yeah, look out for that, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. No.